Hi, and welcome to British Girl Bakes. I'm going to show you the easiest way to bake and decorate a cake. These are called tray bakes, and they're fantastic because you bake them and serve them in exactly the same dish, so there's no need to divide your layers, or assemble your cake, or crumb coat it. Start by choosing a pan, and you'll need something deep enough for the cake and frosting, and some space before using cling film to cover it, so ideally 3 inches or 4 inches deep. You can use ceramic dishes, metal, or foil if you're going to take the cake somewhere. Start by spraying your pan with non-stick spray, and then fill it with your cake batter. For a 9 by 13 inch pan, you'll need a recipe for a 6-inch cake, or if you're using a box of cake mix, 1 box fits perfectly. You can get really creative with these and use brownies or chocolate chip cookies, or anything else that you'd like to eat with frosting on top. You might need to adjust your baking time, especially if you're using a ceramic dish, because it's thicker than a cake pan and so it will take longer to warm up. After baking, let the cake cool completely, otherwise the buttercream will melt and lose its shape when you pipe it on. Now you need to prepare your buttercream. Add gel colours if you'd like to tint it different colours, and choose the piping tips you'd like to use. I'll show you my favourites and how they look in a moment. Fit the tips into the piping bags, and to do this just drop a tip into a bag, push it all the way to the end, and use a knife to score around somewhere in the middle of the piping tip. Then push the tip back out, cut along the line that you scored, and when you put the tip back in, it should be perfectly snug. These are my favourite tips for tray bake cakes, and I'll show you how each one looks. This first one is a petal tip, and the size I usually use is a number 125, but there are lots of different sizes, and if you want to go slightly smaller, a number 104 is great too. Next is a 2D tip, which is similar to the typical piping swirl tip, but makes really pretty drop flowers. Open star tips are fun and easy to use, and this is an 8B tip, or if you're looking for something a bit smaller, a 4B tip is nice as well. This next one is a really small open star tip, a number 199, which is great for filling in small spaces. And then this final one is the typical 1M star tip, which you can use to pipe swirls or these little star blossoms. And I have an entire tutorial on how to use this tip, and I've put the link in the top of the screen and in the description below this video in case you're interested. If you want to create metallic shapes, start by piping your shapes onto parchment paper or wax paper, and then put them in the fridge to chill them so that they set and the frosting gets hard. Then, after maybe 20 minutes in the fridge, you can take the shapes out, mix some metallic luster dust with some vodka or lemon extract, and paint the shapes to make them metallic. I'll show you how to attach these to the cake in a minute. Now for the fun part, piping onto your cake. Start with big shapes, like these 1M swirls. Hold the piping bag vertically above the cake, and start with the middle of the swirl, piping rings around it, spiralling out until you get to the size that you like. To pipe a ruffle with a petal tip, hold the piping bag so that the narrow end of the tip is pointing upwards, and hold the bag as horizontal as possible. And as you apply pressure to the bag to squeeze out the buttercream, wiggle your wrist from side to side so that the buttercream folds back and forth over itself to create a ruffle. For edges and corners, it's easiest to pipe rosettes or swirls, or for petal ruffles, start your ruffle at the edge and move inwards, so you're not constrained by the edges of the tray. If you're going to use any pre-piped shapes, like these gold swirls, attach those first. The shapes need to be cold, so as soon as you take them out of the fridge, pipe a bit of fresh buttercream onto the tray bake cake and use a spatula to lift the shape, and then lower it onto the buttercream so that it sticks to the cake. After attaching any pre-piped shapes, and after piping the biggest shapes, and the awkward ones that need a bit of space to angle your piping bag, like petal ruffles, you can use your smaller shaped tips to fill in the gaps left on the cake. If you're enjoying this tutorial, please click the thumbs up button. For this chocolate chip cookie tray bake cake, I'm using Russian tips, also called flower nozzles, to decorate it. I have a very detailed tutorial called 5 Tricks for Russian Tips that covers how to use these tips to create 2-tone and 3-tone flowers with the perfect consistency. And I've put the link for that tutorial in the top of the screen and in the description below this video. If you're going to add sprinkles, do this as soon as you've finished piping, so that the buttercream is still fresh and sticky. When you finish decorating your tray bake cake, cover it in cling film, or if your pan comes with a lid, you can use that. Put your tray bake cake in the fridge if you've used cream cheese frosting or other ingredients that need to stay cold, but take it out at least 2 hours before serving so it gets nice and soft before you eat it. These are so easy to serve in squares for neat, even portions. If you've baked your cake in a metal cake pan, use a plastic or silicone spatula to serve it, so that you don't scratch the pan. And that's it! This is a fantastically quick and easy, but beautiful, way to make and decorate cakes for any occasion. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for a new cake decorating tutorial every week.